And we are live. My name's JP Berg, and this is Dumb the Wiser. Special time, special guest, writer, host of The Brave New Normal, Mr. Jason James. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing fantastic, JP. I'm just happy to be here with you, man. It's so nice to finally get the invite. Kind of felt like you were leaving me on the outside for a while. You were boxing me out, and then I got the call, and I was like, "Hell, fucking yeah, dude!"
I know you're busy, man. I'm glad you came on with me. It's odd for me. I'm used to being on your show, so now the roles are kind of reversed. I got to try to navigate my way.
Yeah, you got to host this shit. It's so much better when you don't have to host.
100%, man. Whole different feel to the whole thing, man. It really is.
Yeah, no, totally.
So I figure we'll just talk about kind of the train wreck that is Canada and where it fits in geopolitically.
Sure.
I was looking at some of the footage coming out of Minnesota. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, that's a lot. I mean, it's chaos for the sake of chaos, right? I mean, they're intentionally stoking those flames. Tim Walz, the governor, Jacob Fry, the mayor, Ilhan Omar, the congresswoman, who, I mean, I'm not going to say just by way of her being Somalian, she is connected to the Somali fraud, the multi-billion-dollar Somali fraud that went on there. But it really seems to me like the corruption in that state and just in the system in general is so endemic that now they're willing to spill blood in the streets for the sake of covering up their transgressions. That's what it looks like to me, because at this point it seems like everybody's forgotten that there was like a $4 billion, $5 billion fraud case that was developing there. And now what? Now it's just, white liberals in the streets fighting with ICE agents. And, I'm not even on the side of of ICE in the way that they need to be removing people by any means necessary. I think that there's a much smarter way to do it. However, imagine, right? Like, you're tasked with the job of removing illegal migrants from the country, and everywhere you go, you're dealing with rabid activists who just won't let you do your fucking job. So it's like, I'm writing about this right now, and what we're watching really is a tribal dance between cults. And the problem that we have is that nobody lives in the same reality. Mm-hmm. So the people on the protester side, the people who are protesting, they live in their own universe. The ICE agents who are there to remove those illegal migrants, they live in their own universe. And both those universes rarely overlap.
Yeah, definitely, man. I was just watching something as I was setting this up, that Promethean Action Group, but they were talking about Dr. Maria Stefan.
Yeah,
she's apparently like a regime change or color revolution specialist. She went on Colbert to talk about some of the activists in the street, and like it was indicating that a lot of these people are trained provocateurs.
Yes,
it's fucking wild. So like it's two elements. You got like the cultural revolution part, kind of like what you were saying. There's a lot of like programmed individuals, like leftists, pseudo moralists. They're out there to fight fascism in their minds. Ironically, they're aiding in it, in my estimation. But I mean, we're splitting hairs there. And then you got it overlapping with this like professional military grade color revolution. It's like a fucking regime change, man. It's wild to watch.
Yeah, I mean, the clear intent there is to tear down the Trump administration, right? Like, I mean, look, they couldn't beat him at the polls. They couldn't beat him in the popular vote. They couldn't beat him in terms of maintaining control over the popular culture. So now this is how they're going to beat him, by just straight violence and straight force, right? Like, I don't know how true this is, but I was reading the other day that an estimated like 80% of the activists who are currently in Minneapolis right now and impeding the ICE deportations aren't even from the state of Minnesota. Now, I don't know how true that is, but that makes sense. It's in line with what we've seen before. And, you know, I guarantee you, if you were to follow the money, that money would lead back to places like the Open Society Foundation, the Tides Foundation, and groups like Code Pink.
Yeah, 100%, man. And they're all coordinating. It to me, it looks like I'm watching the prelude to a civil war. Hopefully it would be localized and not spread. But I mean, that's the kind of moment we're in right now. And it's coinciding, like you see it with Canada too. I read a report today that there's some links to funding what's going on in Minneapolis coming directly through Canada. So it's
I would not be surprised. Yeah.
No, and you could you're starting to be able to see the clarified sides of this. Like it's really starting to come out. And like I was referencing that Dr. Maria Stefan, like she's on Stephen Colbert, and they're literally like kind of enticing people to go out into the streets and to oppose this. That's so dangerous, man. It just blows my mind. And then when people are getting killed as a result of this, they use them as martyrs to perpetuate the revolution.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you saw it, but even Barack Obama released a statement that was like a thinly veiled call to action. You know, he's encouraging, I don't know the exact words, I'm paraphrasing here, but it's something along the lines of Americans need to follow Minneapolis's example. And it's like, well, what are you guys doing? You're fomenting dissent and chaos for the sake of destroying a presidential administration. Right. And that's but the thing that you have to look at now and understand is that those are the lengths that they will go in order to maintain power, because they lost their grasp on establishment power. And I'm not even one of these, you know, hardcore Trump MAGA types. I just see Trump for what he is. And really what Trump is he's an outsider. He's not a Republican or a Democrat. He's more of a centrist libertarian. And he pulled together an administration full of people who share similar views, people who came from the Republican and Democrat parties but really didn't belong there, and that was intentional. And it's to pull America away from that, you know, that left wing right wing dichotomy. And what we're seeing is it's not just a Democrat or a leftist phenomenon; it's a American establishment phenomenon. And like you said earlier, like there's evidence that there's money coming from Canada into those protests. I wouldn't be surprised, because Canada is so married to the status quo and so suicidally loyal to the establishment that they will do anything to maintain it. I mean, look at what we're doing in Canada now. We're aligning ourselves with China, right? Our most dangerous, I mean, the biggest threat in the world, and we're choosing to align ourselves with them strictly for the sake of not having to abandon the status quo, so that we can maintain it and maintain our establishment as is.
Yeah, it's really hard to see, man. Like I get it. A lot of Canadians are opposed to Trump for very many different reasons. Some of them I could, you know, there's some credibility to it. But I mean, to hate Trump so much that you're willing to ally yourself with like the totalitarian Chinese Communist Party. It's phenomenal, right? And you're hearing impassioned arguments for this.
Yeah.
And it's nuts to me to see. And like, again, it's a testament to the low information nature of our electorate. Like they just don't understand any of this stuff. They really don't.
I think that's by choice, though. I think they're choosing not to. Because you'd have to be living under a fucking rock for the last 50 years to not know that China is a deathly dangerous communist country, right? Like, I mean, that's just basic 8th grade social studies, you know, civics course stuff, you know? So the thing with Canadians is that we are culturally deficient in a number of ways. And one of the major ways we're deficient is in our choosing to ignore reality. Canadians, by and large, you know, I mean, I'm talking about mainstream Canadians here, but that makes up 98% of our populace. They choose to ignore reality, and that's what they're doing right now with this whole elbows up thing, right? It's choosing to ignore the reality that, like, hey, no matter how you feel about the United States, we share a 5,500-mile border with them, and we are directly north of that country. The Arctic is of major concern. Now, you don't have to know this as a mainstream Canadian, and you wouldn't, because you're not, reading or paying attention to any real information. But just geographically, just knowing geographically where we are located in the world, being just north of the largest superpower the world has ever known, no matter how you feel about them, and being a weaker former middle power. But, I would imagine a lot of those people still consider Canada a middle power, because again, they live in a delusion, I would say. But just knowing where we are geographically located, knowing that we are historic allies with the United States, we have always been, even as our country has gone into decline over the last, 10, maybe 15 years, as our country has declined, the United States is what's kept us alive. Like, our trade deals with the United States have kept our economy afloat, right? So all these Canadians who are talking about, how much they despise the Americans and Trump this and Trump that. Well, you know what? You have the Americans to thank for being fucking alive right now, because were it not for them, Justin Trudeau would have completely imploded our economy. It was the fact Americans were still buying our goods and services in the first place that kept us going, right? But the point is that you could just be barely aware of the world around you and know that China is a communist country, America is the world empire, and we're just north of it. So it's not a smart idea to cozy up to a communist country when your historic ally is directly below you, and is the greatest military power the world has ever known.
The biggest reason you're seeing overlooked, the biggest reason America is our most important ally and trading partner, is proximity. Like, that's what it is. Like, there's no replacing them. Carney can go around for these photo ops, making deals with various countries in Europe and in Asian markets. It doesn't matter. There's no replacing them. There's no infrastructure for shipping the goods. Like, all of this would be extraordinarily expensive. But I mean, it's any leader, like, you look at the government, you look at this Carney government. I mean, anyone who was working to represent the better interests of Canadians would know this inherently. He's being antagonistic with Trump because he's allied with the EU, the WEF, and seemingly now the Chinese Communist Party. So, I mean, it's just wild. Like, I look at Canadian politics as we have a hostile regime in there. I don't believe it's legitimate. I sincerely don't.
Yeah, I mean, I'll quote Sam Cooper in saying that we're being held hostage. Right.
Yeah.
And now here's the thing. It's funny because I was so excited to tell you this, because I put on my JP cap the other day and really started to think about like what's actually happening. And then I have this new theory, and I actually, and I thought you'd be proud of me in thinking this way, because you are John Paul Berg, the philosopher who looks way beyond the bounds of what is generally considered mainstream information. I think we're being set up by all sides.
Oh,
I think
it's very possible.
So listen, here's what I think is going on now that I really think about it. As you see the theatrics play out between Mark Carney and Donald Trump, and all the geopolitical theater we're seeing, right? I think that Canada's annexation by the United States is a foregone conclusion, that they already know it's a done deal. It's over. The United States needs the Arctic, right? After Justin Trudeau, our economy was so damaged and so destroyed. I think anybody on the inside who knew what was actually happening knew there was no coming back from it. I think Mark Carney was installed because he is a globalist player. He does understand globalism and global markets and how they work. So he was the guy to transition us into an amalgamation with the United States. Trump, I think, knowing what the deal was and knowing that the Canada was going to be absorbed by the United States, basically stepped up and said, look, I'll be your Huckleberry. I'll be your bad guy. I'll be the villain in this story. We'll set this up in a way where we antagonize each other, and Mark Carney gets to save face and walk away when the United States amalgamates with Canada. And I think this whole thing with China is just a ploy to kind of stir up controversy and stir up the emotions of Canadians. Because what's interesting about this thing with China is that anytime I mention it or write about it, the usual, leftist zombies that show up, in the comment section of everything I put out there, they're not there. And I think it's because people on both the right and left in Canada know how dangerous this is. So what's going to happen is we're going to continuously be pushed to the edge, right? Publicly. And then Trump and the United States are going to step in to pull us back. And they're going to bring us so close to the edge that we're like right there teetering. And that's when the United States is going to step in and pull us back. Carney will be allowed to leave and save face, because let's face it, he doesn't care. He doesn't live in the normal world like the rest of us do. It doesn't matter what Mark Carney does or what happens to him in the future. He's going to go off to, his chateau in England and never be seen again. And basically the game that's being played right now is Canadians are being pushed to a point where we're basically going to fucking beg the United States to take us, so that when that whole thing comes together, there's no more bad guys. We're desperate for Trump. And I think that's what's actually happening. I think the deal's done, because you have to be out of your fucking mind to believe that we're going to be able to ally ourselves with China and just get away with it and just walk away from the United States. Like, that's not going to happen. And I think Mark Carney, for one, as evil as he is, he's too smart to make that assumption. He's too smart to be that stupid, right? And so this is all just theater, to build the tension and the emotion, so that when Trump finally steps in and saves Canada from the grips of China, we're going to be desperate for it.
Yeah, it's very possible, man. I remember thinking this when I was first observing during the Canadian election.
Yeah.
The way Trump was behaving, and everyone in Canada is like, man, he's helping Carney. You could see that. And they're not stupid, man. None of this is done with happenstance. Like, as random as Trump seems in his speeches and stuff, everything is very concise. Yeah. Like, there's a strategy being implemented. And I think back to some of his early 51st state rhetoric. He'd be, the way he talks, he's like, the 51st state, and some people like it, some people don't like it, but maybe you will. And I remember him saying something similar to that a few times. Maybe you will. Like, I don't know, man. You got to step back, because at some point you have to be profoundly aware that it is conjecture. We are speculating. There's aspects of all of this that is just, we can't see. So yeah, you're trying to utilize it and make a framing. But that's a very, very, in my mind, even plausible scenario. But I would be terrified right now if I was living in Australia or New Zealand or the UK, like the other Commonwealth Western countries.
Yes.
Compared to Canada, because in Canada, I think just by sheer luck of proximity to America, I think we're probably going to be all right.
Well, I think the reason why Canada is spearheading this thing is because they know they're going to leave the Commonwealth, and they're going to leave those countries high and dry. They're going to be left holding the bag, right? And like Keir Starmer, I don't know if I would put him on George W. Bush level stupid, right? Like, you see the guy and there's just nothing happening in his eyes. You listen to him talk and you're like, oh, this guy has no idea how the world actually functions. Australia, I listen to a lot of their politics and it's the same thing. Like, they don't, like, you got to remember, man, like, Britain is a shadow of its former self. Right? Britain used to be a manufacturing powerhouse, and it still has manufacturing there, but not to the same degree that it once did. Britain doesn't really have anything. Like, they don't really have anything to offer the world, right? And then you have Australia, which is just out in the middle of the fucking ocean. The same thing with New Zealand. And they're so isolated. Like, again, they're in a complete and total fantasy world. They live in a different universe altogether. And so I think Mark Carney is leading the charge with Canada, because we're the ones who are not. I think for us, our joining the United States isn't just a if, it's a when. And I think with this whole thing with China, I was giving the time frame of like 3 years. Like, within 3 years, Canada won't exist. But I would say cut that time frame in half now. I think 1.5 years, and we'll be in a totally different scenario. And this isn't wishful thinking, by the way. Like, I've always felt that Canada would be much better as part of the United States. But you have to remember, man, there's a lot of turmoil that comes along with that. There's also the questions of what happens to the American voting base when they add 40 million liberals, right? Like they're looking at adding 40 million Democratic voters, save for maybe Alberta and parts of Saskatchewan, right? But even in Alberta, like it's generally like a 50-50 split between conservatives and the NDP, which is like as far left as you can get. So there's still like a really turbulent, rocky road ahead. If you ask me how this plays out, how I see it right now, because you can kind of see what's happening in the American media, you can see the American propaganda spinning up, and you see on Fox and Steve Bannon and all these other right wing outlets, they're all talking about Alberta, right? The prospect of Alberta separating from Canada. And whenever the American propaganda swings in a certain direction, that's kind of a predictive measure for what's going to happen in the not so distant future, right? Because they're setting the table for it. So they're talking about Alberta separation. I think that'll be the first thing to happen. I think the first thing that's going to happen is the Trump administration will take Alberta. They want Alberta anyways because it's a gateway to the Arctic. There's no fucking way at this point in time, with everything that's happening in the world, that the United States is walking away from the Arctic. No way. And they just got Greenland, right? Like they don't own it, but they have a defense agreement with Greenland, which basically, let's be honest here, that means they own it now. They just didn't buy it. Right. Mm-hmm. And so what's next? Well, the Canadian Arctic, they have to lock that down. They're not walking away from that. And so I think Alberta goes first, then Saskatchewan, then BC's isolated. So BC comes to some sort of a deal. Western Canada gets absorbed by the United States, and then they just take Eastern Canada for pennies on the dollar.
It's definitely a possible scenario. I often think the best way for this to go down would be Canada as a territory initially.
Agreed.
Even for a few decades. That way we can't upset the political balance in America. But we could also see something unique, something like the EU kind of thing, like just a union. You know what I mean? Like we're going to get rid of the border. We're going to have shared military. We're going to have a shared economy, get rid of the Canadian dollar. It's not worth much now anyways.
Yeah.
And something along those lines. You hear Kevin O'Leary speak to this frequently. Early on, he kind of stuck to that. Like this is a big opportunity. Like just looking at it from a purely economic standpoint.
Yeah.
But I think it's the only way. And this is kind of how I built my following, was with that 51st state. When that came out, I was very pro 51st. And I like to hear people's arguments, because they like the most passionate people against it were seemingly the most uninformed people regarding what even our parliamentary system means, like the Westminster system. Like it's not, we Canadians grew up thinking like just because we're so culturally similar to Americans that we had the same laws, but we don't have the same rights. Like what we had in Canada, even when it was really good in the 80s and 90s, like we had like state sponsored privileges. Mm-hmm. And when things were good, it was good. But when it gets bad, you get to see what the Canadian government can do versus the rights that are inherent in America. So a lot of Canadians don't even realize that, nor are they aware of the trajectory geopolitically right now. Like the post-World War II order is gone. We're in a state of chaos right now. We're seeing the realignment of powers. Yeah. And Trump, like with the Davos speeches, with the WEF, Carney and Trump, like that Friday, they revised the national defense strategy to reference the Monroe Doctrine in Canada. So, I mean, we could see anything at this point. It's how much, like, if Carney is playing along, that's the best case scenario. Because if not, like, this could heat up, man. And I think they'd be willing to let us suffer.
Well, here, like, let's go back in time a little bit, right? Like, Trump endorsed Mark Carney, and I think he did because he knew. I think because he knew Pierre Poilievre wasn't going to play. He wasn't going to play ball. If anything, I think Pierre Poilievre probably had no idea what the fuck was happening behind the scenes, because you got to remember, like, you're dealing with a liberal government, right? So I think Trump endorsed Carney because he knew the deal. You got to also remember that they're financially connected to each other, right? Mark Carney and Brookfield issued a $1 billion loan to Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, for a bad real estate deal in Manhattan, right?
Mhm.
So they're connected to each other in that way. I mean, also too, they're both. I mean, I don't know if Carney on paper is a billionaire, but I would estimate that he is. You know, I mean, they both travel in similar circles. Although Trump, I've always gotten the sense was never. He's a cheeseburger billionaire, so he's not allowed to like hang out with the upper echelons like Mark Carney does, right? But I, it's just all too convenient. You know what I mean? Like you look at this new what's Donald Trump's his coalition defense his new defense coalition that he's put together, and then
Board of Peace or something.
yeah, coalition of peace, and then he puts out this post like in Canada, Mark Carney, you're not invited. Like the thing about Donald Trump, the one thing he shares in common with Justin Trudeau is that they are both painfully transparent. And I can see what he's doing, and it's just so obvious that it's theater. So I don't know what, but the question I have is, and it's the big question mark, is why? Why the theater? Why are they doing the dance? Why are they performing? And maybe they're performing because Trump doesn't want to show his hand, because there's some form of, you know, blunt force trauma sledgehammer that's about to hit us right over the head, and you know the element of surprise is going to be important, or this is already a done deal and now it's just a matter of wooing the Canadian people, lulling us to sleep, you know, so that when it does happen, everybody's just like, all right, fuck it, let's go, because we have no other way out. You know, I mean, what's concerning, right, is like with this new partnership, this new trade partnership with China, we are also going to allow China's law enforcement to operate in our country as well as their media, which is extremely fucking dangerous, like extremely dangerous, especially when you consider that we are passing a whole fuck ton of censorship laws and you know, hate speech laws and such. So, you know, we could find ourselves Canadians, and I know this sounds far-fetched, but you know, if you have some form of, you know, law enforcement and legal agreement with China, you could find yourself in a situation where you violate China's free speech laws, and they extradite you back to China to be prosecuted, right? And I know that sounds wild and way out of this world, but it is entirely possible that that could happen, right? When you allow them in like this. China is not the United States in the way that they're just interested in making money. China wants your fucking sovereignty. They want your soul, right? That's why they get kicked out of virtually every developing nation that they work with, because eventually over time they realize that, like, oh, they don't just want our fucking diamonds, like they want our lives, right? And that, just look at what happened with the Belt and Road Initiative in Africa. I mean, they invested in a number of countries like Kenya and Nigeria, and every single one of those countries told them to get fucked when they realized what China was up to.
Yeah, it's wild, man, and people don't realize too, because they view Trump or America as fascist. They don't realize that the Communist Chinese Party are a fascist government.
Yes.
Like, it's not. I know a lot of people are and very wrong, but they view communism and fascism as extreme polar opposites, and they're not. They're virtually identical, with just different reasoning. And
Yeah.
it's the totalitarianism aspect that's terrifying. But
Yeah, the way I always explain it to people is this, because the way to define China's system is communal fascism,
mhm,
which is what is being grafted onto the Western world and the entire world right now. But the way I always try to explain it is the one real difference between communism and fascism is that communism manipulates the natural human tendency for compassion and empathy, and it weaponizes it against the people. Whereas fascism doesn't give a fuck how you feel. And that's really the only difference. And if you
it's
ask me, communism is far more dangerous because it's way harder to spot until it's too late.
yeah, it's like the masculine and the feminism, right? Like it's a similar thing. Like fascist societies are more ultra nationalistic. It's under the pretense of order and tradition. And then communist societies are more like about revolution. It's about change. But both systems of government are totalitarian. They're an authoritarian government where the people have no say. And with China now, it's not even just like communo-fascism. It's like a technocracy where
Yeah.
they have experts, the expert class, and that's the scariest thing to me. That's Brave New World. That's, you know what I mean, the social engineers, and that's Aldous Huxley's 1984, or sorry,
George Orwell's
yeah,
1984.
Orwell was
Yeah,
1984.
Brave New
Huxley was
Normal,
Brave New
84.
Normal.
Yeah.
But that's what it is, and you could see it in like all the episodes you've done with Sam Cooper. Like, China already has immense influence in this market, in the black market especially. But I mean, it's just wild, man. It's like what's it gonna take for Canadians to wake up?
Just to wake up one day and realize that it's over. See, the thing about Canadians, man, that really bothers me, like really makes me angry, and is why this year I'm turning Brave New Normal away from Canada, because I'm so fucking angry at these people. Is that they are hopelessly apathetic until it's way too late. Right? Like, it's already too late. We're not going to save this thing. Our hope now is the United States. Right? Like, there's no way Canada can continue on its own. There is nobody you can fucking elect who's gonna save this. The damage is done, right? Like, we've already let China in the door. And for anybody who wants, information on this or to learn more, just go to my podcast, look up Brave New Normal, and listen to all 30 fucking episodes I've done with Sam Cooper. Like, it's done, man. The nail's in the coffin. Now it's just like, what Canadians have to realize is that, like, just because there aren't Chinese soldiers in your streets doesn't mean you aren't in a bad place, right? Like, what really bothers me the most about Canadians is that forever they've prided themselves on being like the educated ones. They've always viewed themselves as being the fucking pearl of planet Earth. The entire time they didn't realize they were completely fucking irrelevant. They weren't even a blip on the radar. The only reason anybody cares about us now is because we're in the center of this thing. Right. And people from outside of our country are looking at us like, wow, like they're waiting for the hammer to hit, for the hammer to drop. Right. And, and it's just like, yeah, you can still go to the grocery store and buy the food that you like. You can still go to work and get your paycheck. And yeah, maybe life is getting more difficult. You can't afford as much as you once did. And maybe your weekly vacation isn't out of the country anymore. Maybe you're just going camping instead, and you're making little changes that way. And Canadians will keep going along to get along. But the problem is that, like, at what point do you stop and look around and be like, hey, man, we need to change this before it, like, metastasizes. We need to cut this fucking tumor out now. And that's the thing that drives me insane about Canadians, is that they wait until it's way too fucking late, and it's too late already. We had an opportunity, man, with the Freedom Convoy. That was our chance. Right? And it wasn't a chance at insurrection or throwing out our government. It was a chance to actually change the face of the country, because the one thing about the Liberal Party in Canada, and the Conservatives as well, is that they are populists. Okay, not populists in a sense where they speak directly to the people or work on behalf of the people, but in a sense where popular opinion shapes their policy and the way that they move. So had Canadians had just put their fucking feet down and been like, no, you can freeze our bank accounts, you could take our assets, you could shut us down completely, you can dox us on the internet like they fucking did to me, right? But we're not going anywhere. You can clear out Ottawa, but we're not going anywhere. But you know what happened is, the moment those trucks left Ottawa, it was over. Canadians were like, okay, well, that chapter's done. Time to get back to life as usual. And now here we are.
Growing up in Canada, man, it's like you could really feel it. Part of the programming, like, was literally that we're better than Americans. Why? Because we're more liberal. We have more liberal values. We're nicer. All of these things were rampant in the culture. And I remember some of the older people around me when I was growing up, they would often say sentiments similar to, oh, those crazy Americans with all their guns or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's the Americans. There was always that differentiating between the two of us was part of our core identity. So I think that's why it resonates so much with Canadians now, where it's being challenged. They're like, they got their fucking elbows up, bro. They're drooling all over themselves. They have no idea what's going on. And they're being weaponized at their detriment. And it's like you say, man, I commonly say this, like, we will be waiting in a line for a ration of government cheese, and we will still feel superior than the Americans. It's ingrained in us.
It's so fucking crazy. And as somebody who's lived in the United States, I can tell you emphatically that the quality of the life in America, and this is 15 fucking years ago, is substantially better. Substantially better. You make more money, things cost way less. You can get on an airplane for like $100, right? Your health insurance, like Canadians are always like, well, we have free healthcare. Well, first of all, it's not fucking free. You're paying an arm and a leg for it. And if you get cancer, good fucking luck, right? Which 50% of us are going to. So good luck with that. In the United States, what you're paying for health insurance, if you're a relatively healthy person, is peanuts compared to what you're paying here into our public system. Not to mention the fact that we just added anywhere from 5 to 15 million immigrants into our population that we are now covering their tab as well.
Oh.
Right. So, you know, like it's always been funny to me how Canadians have this attitude, this superiority complex. And the reason for it being is because it's a what's the word that I'm looking for? It stems from insecurity, because deep down they know they're not nearly as good.
It's like a projection.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. It's like, you know, when your girl's cheating on you and then she's constantly accusing you of cheating on her, and then you find out that she was cheating on you the whole time. It's the same thing, right? It's projection, it's insecurity. And that's the thing, this whole Canadian attitude of being like, well, at least I'm not American. It's like, yeah, you only have that attitude because you know you're not as good, because you know your culture is stale by comparison. And the United States is the center of creativity for the fucking world. If you make music, TV, television shows, you're a writer, you do anything creative, you have to get to the United States. The goal for everybody around the world is to get to the US. They're the center of the universe, man. And we just so happen to be, you know, directly north of them. But the Canadian response was always, well, rather than try to be more like them, which we do secretly anyways, because we always produce stuff 5 years after the Americans did it. And by then the trend's over, right? Like, you remember the whole boy band thing? Like the NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, they were crushing it. Canada, like 3 years after the trend was already dead, started pumping out boy bands, and it's just fucking humiliating. But the point is that we're always behind, and we know that. And so out of our insecurity and knowing that we're behind, we just developed this fake superiority complex and this fake patriotism to cope with it, you know, and that kind of permeates everything. And so now here we are with this elbows up, you know, thing, and Canadians will not let it go because they cannot accept that, you know, they're second best at best. I mean, probably more like 30th or 40th best, but you know.
Well, I mean, they need to be informed too. That's the big thing. Like, I agree with you. You look at some of the celebrities that are endorsing this, like Mike Myers, for instance, just was recently on SNL in a Canadian military fatigue. It's like, come on, dude. You made all your money in America. You are a fucking American, in my estimation, and that's where you're identified with.
But
all these Canadians.
Sorry, John. I just want to jump in here because it so perfectly exemplifies the Canadian fraudulence, right? Like, that's what we do. We put on the costume, right? We put on the military garb with a flag on it and appear on television and feel like we've done something. Right. Like that like the reason why, like, it's so perfect. Like, it's such a perfect example of the way that Canadians behave on the world stage. Like, we don't realize that the rest of the world is like, what the fuck? What are you guys doing? Like, you can wave your flag all you want, but China owns your asses. You know what I mean? And like it. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, JP.
And just like compare, like the comparative size difference. Like we Canadians are used to looking at that map where Canada is a huge part, and then there's America underneath it. It's even a bit smaller, but like we have 40 million people, and we all live within like 10 miles of the border.
Yeah.
And when you look at our economy, it's not even as big as Texas. Like, this is a behemoth. This is the world's biggest superpower. And I mean, we've always had great relations with them. That's the biggest thing. It's like, this is a psyop. You guys are all being psyop. Now, all of a sudden, you hate everything American. Like, that's nuts, man. We're virtually like, there's like, you look at Alberta and you look at like Montana.
Yeah.
Those people are the same people. You know what I mean? They're very similar. You look at Eastern Canada, like the Maritimes, and then you look at Maine and Connecticut. It's like we're very similar, and it's nuts that we're being pushed against each other now. It's like I was saying before. It's like after 15 years of post-national Trudeau, or 10 years of post-nationalism, with the various people pushing it, like, oh, we don't have a national identity. Now they want us to be whipped into a fervor to be, you know, pro-Canadians. It's like these people hate you and you're dancing for them.
But
I
look at how
caught
they
that
fell
right away.
for it. Look at how they fell for it, though. Right? The last 10 years, it was exactly that. We're a post-national state, right? Canada is just a social construct, man. Right? We're like a place for everybody, man. We're a multicultural melting pot. And then in comes Carney, and now all of a sudden we're fucking Canadians again. Like,
Yeah, it
make
was
up your
wild.
minds. What are you doing?
Mhm.
But the problem is, the reason why that happens is because we don't know who we are. Right? Because our identity, exactly what you said. If you go to Atlantic Canada, and you go down along the eastern seaboard, Rhode Island, Maine, they're all the
Mhm.
same people. You go to Vancouver, Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, they're all the same fucking city. If you go to San Francisco and then you go to Vancouver, they're mirror images of each other.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're all the same fucking thing, but Canadians, they can't accept it. And it's because our culture is mostly American. We're fucking Americans, man.
Well,
We're just the ones who are, you know, trapped in the snow.
it's a couple of generations of psyops too, man. Like the state-sponsored media, the CBC, the whole premise of that was to kind of create a cohesive national identity amongst the disparate groups in this big country.
Yeah.
It's funny too, like Sir John A. Macdonald, there was a quote he made where he said when they first started having immigration come into Canada, it was to get people out west. And there was a famous quote he said, like, I would leave Alberta and Saskatchewan empty if I didn't think the Yanks would move up there. So I mean, like the whole time, like our country, a lot of the history was to kind of proactively differentiate the people. So like we were always under that psyop, and that's when I was young, I remember it like very prominently in my memory, the attitude when America would come up. Oh yeah, this arrogance, this like self-important arrogance, and it just never sat right with me, even then, honestly.
But what's so ironic about it to me is that everything Canadians always said about Americans is what they were the whole time. They were small and arrogant and what's the word that I'm looking for here? Stupid, uneducated, ignorant. All of the tags that Canadians put on Americans is what they always were. And the thing is, now the whole fucking world can see it, especially the United States, right? The Americans are like blown away by what Canada actually is. And I argue what always was. It's
Mhm.
just the thing is now is we can't hide behind the American shadow. We can't hide in the American shadow. Now we're out, we're exposed for the world to see, and people can't fucking believe it. And that's what I mean by it's already over. It's already done. We just have to hope that, you know, Trump and the United States and whoever comes after Trump has a plan for Canada, because if not, then we are fucked. And what you will see is a mass exodus of people from Canada into the United States, right? Because this thing, this experiment, this British experiment that we've all been living for over 100 years is over. It's done. We failed. Now we just have to hope and fucking pray that the US wants something to do with us, because if not, I don't know. China is not a real alternative. So what else is there for us? I don't know.
Yeah, there's no staying independent. That's what when I say I put a few polls out and I say which way, like provide it, you know, you have two options, America or the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah.
And people would say, "Oh, I don't like that. I want an independent Alberta. I want an independent Canada." It's like, look, dude, right now we have like massive powers. And it's not like the Carney's framing of all these middle powers got to do whatever. It's like, no, dude. Like if we have proximity to America. If we don't realize this and humble ourselves and try to like restore diplomatic relations with them, the people will suffer. I mean, there's no independence anymore. Like America is going to have influence in Canada or China is. Those are the two big players and they're vying for us. We are the prize. And I mean, we have to realize that. And like we don't have a lot of time to do so.
Yeah, well, this is what I say to the independent Alberta crowd, and I'm in Alberta, right? Like, this is what I say. if Alberta goes independent, so overnight, Alberta goes independent and they become I think it's the fourth wealthiest country in the world per capita. Okay. When you have all of that resource wealth as a tiny little independent nation surrounded by a now enemy, right? Have you ever dropped fresh meat into an ocean filled with sharks? That's what's going to happen. Alberta doesn't have a military. How do we defend ourselves against every nation around the world that wants to come and strip those resources out of us? What the fuck are you going to do for a currency? How are you going to trade? What are you going to back your currency by? Oil? Okay. Well, you better have a way to defend it, because every cutthroat from around the world, that includes the United States, is going to be coming for it.
Oh, it would be a protectorate of America right away.
Not only that, but here's the thing. We go independent, we're Canada's economic engine. What are you going to do about the other 36 million people who are now fucking furious because their economy collapsed? You're surrounded by them, right? So look, I'm not against an independent Alberta. My question I pose to those people is, feasibly, how does it happen? They can't answer that question because they don't know. And neither do I. But I will tell you, as somebody who has spent most of his life reading history, when you have a whole lot of something that the rest of the world wants and no way to defend yourself, doesn't go well for you. So the United States is Alberta's only exit. And Canada's only exit.
I agree, man. I do. I try to stay out of it though, because I know people are really like strong on it. Like, oh, other conservative Canadians shouldn't be talking. I speak about it. I don't. It's not one of my big topics. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not from there. I haven't even been to Alberta. I'm not going to start passionately arguing for either side of this. I don't avoid it, like I say, but I could see a lot of people are starting to resent other Canadians even talking about the issue.
I'm not against the idea, right? Like, and for people watching this, Bruce Party wrote a constitution for an independent Alberta that I think, once the dust settles around Canada, actually should be adopted as the new constitution for whatever country exists after this, or whatever we are, because he wrote a bulletproof constitution. And just, if you guys want to read it, just Google Bruce Party Alberta independent Alberta Constitution. It's beautiful, right? But the thing is it's like, how do we get there? And how do we defend ourselves? And you get a lot of people, like, especially in Alberta, these fucking dickheads who are like, yeah, you come and try to take it. Listen, man, it's not like 50 guys in pickup trucks showing up to take your oil. It's fucking special forces units, man. You know what I mean? And not even American special forces units. Chinese special forces units.
Look at the Maduro thing, man. Everyone would just be knocked out, bleeding out their eyes.
That's what I'm saying. Dude, did you see the video of okay, it's bad to laugh at it, but it's fucking hilarious. So Maduro's guards were mostly Cuban intelligence, which is something me and Sam are going to dive into in an episode in the near future, because that is a fascinating part of that story, right? But so they filmed the plane when it arrived, with the remains of the Cuban intelligence guards who were around Maduro when the special forces came in and extracted Maduro, right? So you're expecting these coffins and, salutes. These fucking, these infantrymen walk off the plane with these tiny little boxes. And the caption on the video says, "What the fuck did they do to them?" Right? Like, they didn't even, dude, those guys were ash.
Vaporize them, man. Direct energy.
Vaporized them, right? So this is what I'm saying, right? Like this idea that, like, Alberta is just gonna go, okay, bye Canada, we're doing our own thing. Now we're the fourth wealthiest country on the planet, and we're doing this completely by ourselves. That's gonna last like a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the only way it works is with America's help or approval, or as a protectorate of America. Kind of like Kuwait and Iraq back in the day, or like, you know what I mean? Like,
but here's the thing, like, if you do it that way, right? If you want to maintain your independence, if you don't join the United States as a state or even a territory, what they're going to do is they're going to say, look, we're going to give you military protection, but we're going to pay you pennies on the dollar for your resources. And then they're going to suck everything out of the ground and fucking be gone. And then our newfound enemies that we're surrounded by will have their way with us. And by that time, I mean, look, if Alberta's the only one that leaves and Canada remains intact, then you have China you're contending with at that point.
Yeah, man, it's going to be interesting to see it all play out. This is the year. Like, it hasn't disappointed thus far.
I know. Right?
I think it's just going to be phenomenal too.
Brother, can you believe we are only 28 days into 2026?
Yeah, it's wild, man. The news cycle, like I'm on here, I'm talking about all these different topics, and they're so sensational. Like it's just within 3 days that there's a brand new news cycle. Like, everyone's forgotten about these other huge things. Like, it's wild, man.
It's so crazy, dude. Like, it's like, you know, I was thinking about this not too long ago. Like, actually the last time you and I talked, right? How I'm so fucking glad I made friends with the people that I made friends with, and that, like, our little circle, like me and you and Payman and Chris and Sam Cooper, like, we're all kind of like, 6 degrees of separation from each other. But I feel like the good guys are together, and fuck, what a time for the good guys to be together, man. Because this year is going to be such a fucking ride.
Yeah,
like
everything happens for a reason.
We're all gonna be texting each other like, dude, what the fuck? I'm going live. Jump on with me. You know what I mean? Like, that's what this year is gonna be like.
And this is what Canadians need, though, are reliable, humble people that are really endeavoring to try to, like, decipher this and provide people with a commentary. Like, because there's just so many interests right now that are, like, vying for influence in our political discourse. It's nuts, man.
Hell yeah, dude. And, like, I said this on my podcast when we did our episode together, but I'll say it here for your audience. Like, I'm so fucking happy you're doing this, bro. Like, I'm so happy you're doing this. You're one of the most eloquent guys out there. It's funny because you don't look like a guy who's going to, like, open his mouth and say something like, fucking mind bending, but you are. And I'm so glad you started this podcast. I'm so glad you're doing Philosopher Stoic and Teddy Bear with Chris and Payman. Like, you guys are on such the right fucking track. And, like, I try to, like, share it as much as possible and everything, but, like, dude, people out there watching this, support these guys, man, because as somebody who does this as well, I'm telling you, these are the good guys. And I have, kind of been around a little bit, gotten to know a lot of people, both in front of the camera and behind the scenes. And I'm telling you, Chris, Payman, and JP are the good guys.
I appreciate it, brother. And the feeling's mutual. Everyone has to follow Jason. Everyone has to follow Brave New Normal. Your episodes with Sam are absolutely famous in this scene now, right? Like, it's
so crazy, dude, because it's like, I did not plan this at all, right? Like, me and Sam have been doing this, every other week, every 2 to 3 weeks for fucking 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And everything that he and I talked about for the last 2 years is now coming to pass. And it's wild because, like, I'm watching, episodes that, we put out, a year and a half ago, get fucking millions of views, right? So it's wild because it's like, I didn't, we had been warning about this, and I had the sense that this was going to happen, but I had no idea it was going to happen as soon as it did. And now, like, dude, now it's just full speed ahead. Like, now we just got to go, because we got to wake up as many people as we can before the door closes on us.
Yeah, that's the big thing, man. That's what keeps me doing it. As you know, there's not much money in it. There's a lot more lucrative things I could be doing with my time. Nor did I ever have this desire to be, like, a celebrity or known. Like, that was never me. I really feel that's vacuous when I see people in this space that are like that. I just want to tell the truth. I want to figure it out. I'm naturally curious. I'm very well read, and I pay attention.
But that's what makes somebody good at this, right? Like, look, the whole influencer thing is super gay. It's super gay, right?
Yeah,
and like, I see you and Chris going after people online and challenging people. Myself personally, I don't do it just because I just, like, honestly, dude, like, I don't want to, like, I'm happy you're doing it. You know what I mean? Like for me,
I don't even like it, man. Like I probably come off as very disagreeable. I'm a nice guy. I'm a
no,
very agreeable
but I
person.
get what you're doing because because you see what they're doing and you
It's
know what they're
only when
doing.
it's really bad. When I
Yeah.
seen them all on the posters and like, come and meet us, and it's like, oh my god, like, have you guys forgotten you got a bit of a following on social media, and your head is blown up to that extent that it can't fit on the screen?
Well, it's just like, the thing is, man, like I've had this conversation with a few people and really what it is it's just like you got people who will jump from trending topic to trending topic, who are audience captured, who are just going to maintain the reverberations in the echo chamber. And then you have people like us who will step aside and disagree with our audience and be authentic and genuine in our viewpoint and maintain that integrity throughout. And although it's a much harder road, although the audience is much smaller, it's the payoff in the end is much greater, right? Because you're actually creating something that is going to live, that's going to last, and you're creating something that does live, right? Like these influencer types, they come and go, but we're going to be here long after. I mean, we might be doing it in Mandarin, but we're going to be doing it. We're going to be doing it for a long time, brother. And like this year was the year where I decided like either I'm going to keep pushing forward or I'm going to wrap it up. And I decided you guys, you, Chris, and Payman, PST was a big reason why I decided to keep going, because I was like, nah, I got to stay with the fucking good guys. I got to stick with the Avengers, man.
I couldn't imagine not doing it at this point. Like I would just feel like I wasn't contributing anything, and I don't even know what I contribute, but I know there's a lot of people that derive comfort from my show and my analysis, so that's what keeps me going. But with that, man, I won't keep you any longer. I know you're busy.
Do you have any comments or questions or anything you want to address?
You know what, man? We got a few comments. There's not a lot of questions. I'm super deboosted right now. We only got about 180 live. I got to put this one up though, just because it's too good. Kat really likes you. Now he's referencing Kat Canada. I think she's sweet on me personally. I'm married, darling. I'm married. I know your boyfriend's very effeminate. I've seen you guys, but just I'm married. I can't do that. Besides that, there's a lot of comments. But yeah, man, I want to thank you for coming out. It was a great time. We'll do it again, for sure. I definitely like to have you on.
Yeah, dude. Anytime, brother. Anytime.
It'd be great to get you on with me, Chris, and Payman.
Dude, don't do that. I'll fuck the whole thing up.
Dude, that's loose. It's as loose as this. There's just
no, dude. You guys are so perfect together. The three of you guys, like I said, like I've said to all of you guys, like I've really dude, I'm addicted to PST. Like I'm like probably like your number one super fan. Like if you guys ever actually pull it together and do some merch with that teddy bear, I will be your first sale. I want
that teddy bear is pretty cool, man.
I want it just like 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 on the breast, like just graphic small on the breast. That would be a gangster ass t-shirt.
Yeah, man.
But like for me, is it just like the three? I will come on if you guys invite me. I'm not gonna be able to say no, but I will fuck up the flow because you guys are so perfect together, like so perfect. Like it's you guys clicked together and made magic, and it's wild to watch because it's like it's the best podcast going in this country, period. Like I listen to it and you guys inform a lot of my opinion. Like then I go on do Brave New Normal and I'll like regurgitate something you said almost fucking verbatim. Then go back to the episode after and be like, God, I hope nobody puts together that I'm just ripping off John Paul Berg.
Oh man, you have my express permission anytime, brother. But again, man, why don't you tell all the audience where to find you and where to follow you?
Of course, yeah. You can follow me on X, Jason James BNN, YouTube, Brave New Normal. But I want to say this. Substack is the most important platform going in the world right now. And the reason for that being is because everything that you're seeing is controlled by algorithms, right? John Paul is constantly suppressed. I'm suppressed all the time as well. The reason why Substack is important is because it operates also as a newsletter. You don't need the algorithms to feed you stuff. Everything that I produce on Substack goes direct to your inbox. And it's that way that we beat their algorithms. It's the way you beat the suppression is because you are directly delivering everything that you do to your audience. So that said, if you're going to follow me anywhere, sign up bravenewnormal.substack.com. You can sign up for free or as a paid subscriber. If you want to sign up as paid, it's $5 a month, $50 for the year. Paid subscribers get a ton of extra shit. But guys, Substack, like Substack's super important because we're beating the algorithms that way.
I agree, man. And just so everyone knows, I am a paid subscriber. I would recommend it. I like getting early access. I like getting the show with you and Payment. I got to know what the boys are talking about.
Dude, you're fucking awesome. I love you so much, bro. Like, I really do. Like, I one of these days I'm gonna fly out to Atlantic Canada, grab some lobster, and just come out and give you a big fucking bear hug, dude.
Man, we all got to get together at some point in the future.
Dude, you guys have to do like a philosopher. Yeah, you guys got to do like a conservative influencer type meetup thing. You know what I mean?
Without a poster.
Yeah, without a poster, right? You guys just post something on X. Dude, I will be fucking there. I'll pay my $20 to get in. I don't give a shit. I'll be there. Like,
I couldn't imagine, but it would be nice to all get together someday and have a beer.
100%.
But I want to thank you, man, for coming on. It was a pleasure as always, and we will be in touch. I want to thank the audience for coming out. We got about almost 200 watching, and I will appeal. I wasn't doing it through the episode, but I will appeal if you guys could please share this. It helps me beat the algorithm. As Jason mentioned, we're very suppressed.
Yeah.
And thank you very much. My name is JP Berg. This is Dumb the Wiser. Cheers.